Dr. Zuni's interview,
Hmm.
but I had a few questions.
Sure.
So I added everything like the intro and the outro, and like this is the pacemakers version, so I cut some questions from the end. And I followed Eileen's SOP for like the captions for the questions. Except some of the questions, like these are fine. Some of the questions are a bit long. And if I follow the standard, like, oopsie, if I follow the standard font and like type of caption that she specified, like the font just gets smaller so it fits it all in one line. And I couldn't figure out a way to put it on the second line without it being like even tinier. So I was wondering if this caption looks a little too forced, because then I would try to find like a different way to put the captions. Like these are fine, but there was one that was like this one is particularly small. Do you think this is like okay, or do you think I should like try to find a different way to do this?
I think that font is okay. I think I can read that. Yeah.
Up here, okay.
Yeah.
That's probably the longest one I had.
Mm.
So then otherwise, this is pretty much ready to be published on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to export, like double check it one more time and then export it and then let Dr. Liam and Eileen know. Get them to watch it over and then publish it whenever it needs to be published.
Yes. So yeah, get them to be checked by Liam and Eileen. And also send it to me. Yeah. And then once you get an okay, just get it published. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So I'll double check it and then I'll send it to you, Dr. Liam, Eileen. I'll also get Shauna to make a thumbnail, and then that should be good for this one.
Great.
In terms of variant classification, nothing presentable at the moment. My hope is to get like actual tangible data to be presented to you by at least the next lab meeting, hopefully by next lab meeting. And then I'll present that.
Okay. So timeline wise, I guess before your medical school start, you still have some time to work on it.
Yeah, so yeah, goal is to get everything done before August. Because like over the summer I'll have some time to work on it, definitely.
And school starts in August?
Yeah, August 1st.
All right, very good. Thank you. Seungmi, I see you. Do you have update?
Hello. Oh yeah, I do actually. Wait, I'll try to share my screen. So, basically I listened to the lab meeting 3 weeks ago, and then when you were discussing with Eugene about the Albuquerque case.
Yeah.
And then, so we got the data for Tempest and Altera for all the patients who have Garden results. Yeah, so we try to see if there was anything overlapping with Gardens versus Alter and Tempest, because it looks like with Alter and Tempest they overlap a lot, probably because they're both from tissue. So yeah, and only 3 patients actually had something overlapping between either Alter or Tempest with Gardens. So I kind of noted them here. So I think we collected all the data, and now it's like I'm not sure exactly how I could possibly use this in the study.
So what is the question you're trying to answer?
With Albert Curie's case, one was discussed in the lab meeting like on the 3rd of May was, if you look at Albert Curie, he's here. So he had garden done 5 times, but 2 times the request didn't happen. So he has 3 results, and none of the findings from gardens overlaps with anything from Altura. Well, with Altura, I don't think there was anything, but with Tempest, so what we discussed was like with tumor informed approach, we know it's accurate because it's from the tumor, whereas with gardens, is tumor naive. So when there are these findings such as like in March 2021, the NRAS TP53, they are possibly clinically significant, but they weren't found in the Tempest tissue. So we're thinking like, how could we explain this kind of thing? Yeah. So
I think Eugene O can explain it later after this meeting, because we had a lengthy discussion about it. But for this project, we're gonna say Garden is picking up
this project. Oh, you mean the current one we're talking right now?
Yeah, about Albert Curie's case. She'll talk to you about why that could be. But my input today would be that Garden is probably not picking up anything from his original tumor.
Right.
Probably picking up something different.
Yes.
For this project, yeah, we don't, we'll just work as if the Garden data doesn't matter.
Oh, for Albert Curie. Oh yeah, I didn't see the most recent lab meeting. So yeah, so that's with Albert Curie. And so a lot of patients, if you see which I wrote no, like only like 2 didn't have any comparable, like all other ones, like there wasn't any overlap with the Garden result, but then there was 3 patients with overlap with Garden and Tempest or Altura. So if I look at pick 1 first, which is this patient Wazeta McGee, she has well, Altura there was nothing to use, but with Tempest they had, so it's a very similar time frame. You see, very similar. Yeah. And then if you look, there was like quite a few, I think 4 in total. I don't know, let me just see how many. But there was definitely some overlapping between. Okay, so I wrote it down. So this one overlaps with Tempest, and also one of the 3 of the VUS are RDL A1. That one also overlaps with Tempest.
Was it before treatment, before curative treatment, or after?
Just gonna take 1 second. So oh, I had it there. Sorry. So she had her curative treatment like March of 2021, and also chemo was after that. So I would say that's after. No, before her treatment was after the results. So, and if you go back, that was the date of the Garden. That was the date of the Tempest. They're both January in 2021, and her surgery was yes, it was on March 2024.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just like a little bit still jet lagged, so I speak slowly, but yeah.
Okay.
And also there's 2 more patients like that. this guy has 4 overlapping.
Mm.
This person also has 1, 2, 3, 3 of possible clinical significance and 1 of VUS overlapping. Yeah. So I was wondering if we could use it.
So I think we'll have a lot of garden
Mhm.
pre-curative treatment, but I don't think we'll have, except for Albert Curie, I don't think we'll have much post-curative treatment garden.
Right.
So the question is, how many post-curative treatment garden do you have?
Well, right. Well, there are some patients who had garden over time. Well, just really few. I'll have to compare actually.
Okay.
Didn't write the treatment dates in this sheet.
So as for the manuscript, I think what you can do is pre-treatment data has been published, as like a concordance of, this was actually Jewel Park's paper. Eugene, can you follow up with Jewel Park where the paper is?
Yeah, I will. But as of now, I think it hasn't been published other than like Medverix that he first tried.
I know, but is it like someone stopped sending it, or I don't know where it is?
I think someone stopped, but I will double check with Joel Park, hopefully within today.
Yeah, and if no one's pursuing it, maybe Eugene, you can work on submitting it
Submitting to
other journals, because I don't think no one has bandwidth to work on it now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Sumi, this is what happens when people continue to submit and then we forget where it is. Where is it? Submitting.
Yeah.
I can't possibly every week, keep track of many things, and
Yeah.
many projects get lost like this. Yeah. But they're all good projects. I wish there was a people like working on it to completion. But anyway, the question is, if it's pre-treatment concordance, I don't think the editors will be interested. If just like Albert Curie, the question here is, we focus on Signatera here, but
Yeah.
we can talk about, hey, can Gardent also work as another MRD assay? And how is Gardent result? I understand there might be just couple really in concordance with what's showing in Signatera. The answer is they both are different. And Albert Curie case, you can still write about it, saying that they're different, and Gardent might be picking up something from bone marrow. We don't know, and then possibly discuss about how two technologies are different. One is tissue informed, the other does not take into account of what's in the tissue. So that's how what's in the tissue and Gardent are so different. So I guess difference pre-treatment, let's not mention it because it's too much to mention. Difference post-treatment, in Signatera level and the Gardent level of whatever is detected is our focus of discussion. Post-treatment Gardent and post-treatment Signatera. And only when you discuss the difference then you bring back, hey, in Signatera, I'm not able to know what these variants are, but at least in Garden, I know what mutation and what VAF it is, and I can say whether those were present in Tempest or Altera. So that's how you discuss this.
Okay.
Again, do not discuss pre-treatment Guardant and Tempest or Altera. What I'm saying, only for those who have discordant finding in post-treatment Signatera and Guardant, only for those, including Albert Curie. When you discuss why would that be, go back to the Guardant variant and see if they were actually present in Tempest or Altera, or even pre-treatment Guardant. So this is my input for you. This may well take about one paragraph of your discussion.
Right. Okay. I kind of lost it. I only heard like pre-treatment. I would, if I listen to it again, I'd probably get it. But I think I kind of lost it. So like I understand that pre-treatment doesn't, we are not gonna use that. So the discordance after post-treatment between Garden and the tissue.
Not tissue. Signatera.
Or sorry, yes, that's what I meant. Garden and Signatera. With Signatera is tissue based. So what should I do about it? Sorry.
So about the discordance, just
do you think I will be able to present meta-analysis?
discuss the discordant. What do you see? How discordant are they? That's number one. Number two, why are they different? Like Albert Curie, it's really different. One is non-detectable, one is detectable, right? So describe the discordance. Number two, describe the reason for discordance. And in doing that, you know, sometimes you don't know, then you can re-speculate or use the word speculate. We speculate,
right,
and describe the reason. And what you need to describe there is how what's found in the Garden variant is found or not found in Tempest or Altera.
Right.
And they might be picking up different clones. That's why, right? So discuss those two. Landscape of discordance and then reason for discordance. And this is all in post-curative treatment setting.
Understood.
Okay. Anything else, me?
Just a few more questions regarding what that I wrote while I was making this. So, one is, so with this patient, you know, with Altera and Tempest, pretty much, even if there was like a gap in the time, a lot of the mutations matched, especially because I think they were both from tissue. And would I say, so like with this patient here, like EGFR thingy match, and a lot of these match too. But my question is, would I see both the combined Alter and Tempest? Would that be the tissue reference?
Yeah, Altera or Tempest. You can combine them as a tissue reference. It's fine.
This is a bit of a silly question, but I noticed that there's like, with Altera, they had so much BUS. With Tempest, the list was usually way shorter.
Oh.
They would, like, if you look at them, like, the list is way shorter. Like, this is how long you could get. With Altera, when it's way too many, it's like 3 pages. So I was just wondering, like that was really interesting to know. And my second question is, I guess with up till here, like BPCS, you could kind of read about the possibility of clinical significance or known.
Uh-huh.
But US, there are so many mutations that, like, if you look at this one, like, there's like this amount of mutations that
Mm.
are around, although none of them overlap. Oh, with Tempest, 3 overlapped actually. Tempest found 4,
Mhm.
3, and they all overlapped with Altura, which was interesting. And Altura
Hmm.
had this long of a list.
Okay.
Yeah, but okay, that's just something I noticed. But my question is, like, when I want to see the significance of each of these variants,
Uh-huh.
is Grace someone I should be asking? Because she's doing the variant research. So I'm like seeing who could I reach out to see if I really get curious about something significant that's not like known.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yes, Grace is the expert. She can tell you what's significant or not. But for your project, I don't think we need to know what's significant, what's not significant, because what matters is the level.
Right.
And I mean, it's the functionality is good to sort of see and compare. But for the project itself, um, I don't think you have to describe, is it possible? Is it unknown? I don't think that matters for your manuscript at this level.
Okay. My final question with this spreadsheet is, um, why did I highlight? How should I interpret Guardian 3 VUS? Okay, never mind. This is not, I don't need to ask this question anymore. So, I think all my questions with what I prepared is finished.
Okay.
I think I could start writing the manuscript, and write it like early on in the week and get everybody to have a look at the later week and then show it to you on Tuesday,
Okay.
chunks at a time.
Yeah, that's a good
Well,
timing.
yeah,
Who's
so,
helping you? Who's helping you write?
well, I'm gonna try to write. Oh, with the methods, Julie and Eugene pretty much helped me so much with the method part. But the introduction and discussion, I'm trying to write all of it myself. And then there's so many people I could ask to have a second look.
Okay.
It's just a matter of me giving them like early, early for them to have the time to read through it.
Okay. Okay. Very good. I have to return a call. Give me 5 minutes. Okay, I am back. Junie, I see you. Do you have any update? Are you on? You're muted.
Do you want to give the update for the resist criteria or hyperprogressions?
Yes. Good morning, Dr. Che. Arnie has more updates this time.
Okay.
Okay. So last week you already, I will connect with my computer. So last week you already asking like about the incidents, and we already tried to count the 140 with the three times point. I will share my screen. And Eugene already helped us with analyzing the data, but basically there's some little bit error with the data 140 data, so we need I will share my screen. I will share my screen. This one. Okay, so this is the resist hyperproliferations. So we already get the 140. Yeah. This is the 3 timeline, the 140 data, but there is some data that we missed, like out about 18 patients with the red box. And so basically the problem is like there's some problem before when we extracting the data. So they have the same date or like the same tumor burden. So when it goes to calculations, it will be like error for the 18 of that data. So I need to recheck it again through the Epic. But we get 122 viable data. And last time, Eugene already helped me with the analyzing the data, and we get this. The incidence of 3 definitions. Yeah, this is like the criteria, the three like 3 definitions of hyperprogressions, and from that we get 3 incidents. Excuse me? Yeah, 4. We get 4 incidents from that from the analyzing the data. The difference, like last time I already discussed it with Eugene also, like the incident actually pretty different with every criteria, and we discussed it because if the criteria have more criteria, so the incidence like get lower. But if we use like the definition with less criteria, so the incidence is become higher. I think at for today's lab meeting, I only can show at this point because I haven't worked with the data from the risk factor. So I feel like after this, combining the table, filling the 18 patients that gone, that kind of lack last week, and also combining with InHo data with the risk factor to fill with the 140 patients, because basically the 140 patients is come from Yunho data. So we get the risk factor from that data.
Singabi, why is the JAMA just 5 patients? Do you know? 5 JAMA, Singabi?
Oh yeah, because they already reported 5 patients in the incidents in the table.
Hmm. Okay, go back to the second slide. Go up. Is this is from what table? What paper?
You mute it. You mute it.
What paper is this figure from?
I can. Wait, Eugene, you are muted. I can hear you.
Dr. Tay, I chose this graph, this like illustration from the paper that Minjung chose for her review. And I found it very interesting to just grasp the idea. So yeah, just for ourselves, I just put it here.
Hmm. No, this is really good.
Yes, I just selected like while reading the paper yesterday, so I haven't prepared like proper citation of itself, but I think I can. And I can share this article with Among Us later. And I think the reason why we cannot, yeah, by Grace. So the reason why we cannot finalize the incidence using Kato's definition is that Kato require us to actually calculate the time interval from the initiation of ICI. So that data we lack as of now, so we have to collect them. And I think we can get that from Yunho's data as well. So
Yeah.
I think we can finish up all the definition, all the incidents by according to 5 definitions by next week, and as well as
Yeah.
respector calculation as well.
Because the data is kind of have like from the 140 last time Eugene only count 122. We missed like the 18. We need to fill it and also move the incidents like the risk factor from in-host data to this data. But until this point, I really likes to this project because it's already show like the variation of the incidents from every definition is different. So it's quite interesting or make it into an abstraction. Also, doctor, do you think 140 patient is enough like viable for the data?
Of course.
Okay.
So I don't get it. What do you need for Kato method? What is that?
The initiation of the immunotherapy date. So from when I did RECIST criteria with Zuni, we only find 3 timeline, right? The pre-baseline, baseline, and after treatment. But we need the immunotherapy initiation time. So we need to.
So
Yeah,
all the other methods do not require that time.
You are.
Yes, Dr. Che. So if you see the below of this shared screen, I said I found the time to treatment failure was defined as the interval between initiating therapy and the earliest of clinical progression. So if you look at the table with definition blank row, only Kato has TTF less than 2 months. So if we want to define hyperprogression using Kato's definition, we need to decide whether there was clinical progression within 2 months after initiation of immunotherapy. So yeah, but other than that, we already have all data. We need to define hyperprogression because they only require us resist progression and then other TGR or TKR data.
I also have one question. Actually, like after this, like we will find the basically we will recheck all the data again for the initiation of the treatment, right? So for the risk factor, is all the risk factor from Yunho table, like we put it in our data, or like is there any specific risk factor that you want me to put in our table?
No, just review everything that has collected.
Okay.
So 140 patient, so let's make a graph like this.
Yes.
And so 140 patient, you line up and you have resist. So you have small, I think Sunmi made graph like this. You have like little boxes in here, and the box will be colored. This box may be blue, this one red, below yellow. And then all the boxes will be one thing. Like one box would be resist progression. The other box would be TTF minus less than 2. The other box will be TGR. The other box would be TTK. Or was it TGR and is there TGK? So every box will be different, and every paper's definition is A and B, A and C, right? So, and then the other boxes would be definition. So you have the element boxes, and then you have boxes for different definition. So, and then you would skew this, this with having cases. So I would say this would be element. This you can kind of color it in a way, there's a one patient that meets all 5 criteria. One patient, and then there's 5, and then the 4 criteria, 3 criteria, 2 criteria. So you would stack them and see the pattern. This is a nice way to show. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, like come and talk.
Dr. J, you want us to make a bar chart so that how many patients are following 5 criteria, how many following 4?
Yeah.
I got it.
So you can so that's actually another following 5, you can do it in a bar graph. How many patients are following, you can like a histogram, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 criteria, what's the distribution of them? And then you can make histogram or bar graph for everything, resist progression, TTF, TGF, TGR. So you have 4 graphs, okay? So you have histogram for every indicator, and then you have a histogram for how many did they meet, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this graph is different. This is for all 140. So all 140 patients will be lined up. Each box is 1 patient. But you're gonna line them up by their, how many criteria do they meet? 5 criteria met patient here. And the boxes will be colored accordingly. So this is how they are going to be stacked up. And then you have each different elements, TTF, TGR, TGR, TGK. Resist, okay? So a few graphs would help us really realize, not just the one instance, like I think this would give us an idea how each patients are coded differently. Okay, Junie and Arnie?
Okay, I get it. So basically our homework for this week, like filling all the gap for the data, also the risk factor, and make the chart for the bar chart for like 140 patients. Okay.
Yes.
And if and later if I still like quite not understand about the chart, or like the whole fix,
Yeah.
I will ask it.
Any other questions?
Eugene, do you want to ask like the when if the patient have the like similar tumor burden, like the way you find it? Do you want to ask it or not? What do you think? Okay. Okay, I think we okay with this project for this week.
Okay.
Thank
I
you, Dr. Che.
Thank you. I need to answer this call, so give me another few minutes. But it's all recorded. You can go back and listen to my comments. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. So we were doing that, and we found, I think she talked about like the two patients that did have overlapping mutations that we found from the sequencing data from the portals on the two websites. I wasn't sure like what the next steps were for that one.
Yeah. So yeah, you can watch the video, but
Yeah.
the point is the two platforms are different, and you know how they are different in the real world, and how the difference can be explained. And you should read Mr. Albert Curie's case report. Both Singmi and Richard, Eugene, you can share that together because we're discussing why are there's such a big difference, and all that discussion points are really important. But for Singmi's project, it's really just like the MRD levels, or how can they be predictive of recurrence, and what is the ideal platform to measure it. Yeah, so that would be my input for the project. Any other questions as you were working on this project, Richard?
Oh, not really. I got back from vacation on Saturday night, so I haven't had too much time to like this summer to work on it yet. But yeah, this week I'll see what we can do.
Sure, yeah. So I think Sungmi has the whole grant scheme of the manuscript. So work with her. It's a nice project for you both to sort of finish and write up, and kind of learn how to write a good manuscript and publish together.
Yeah, sounds great.
Great. Let's see. Okay, Liam, do you have any updates?
Yeah, so well, there's several. So pacemakers, we're wrapping up. We're wrapping up Sally's video clips, and then we have Grace's one of Dr. Zuni coming up, and also Eileen's second one of Madeline coming up, and that's pretty much it. And so we checked with Sally about the NGO status. So it seems like we are registered. You can find pacemakers under the Illinois state government website as a registered entity. So that's set. The only next step is to file taxes, which I believe will be for the next tax term. But that's for if we want to open like a bank account, and if we want to get tax exemptions status and things like that. So I think since we're not looking into that actively right now, that can kind of wait for now. And then I also have some updates about our projects. So allow me to share my screen. And then we also have several meetings today in the afternoon with, I believe we have 2 meetings with the biomarker companies and then 1 meeting with the Reds blood uh, the blood transfusion project.
Blood bank in Brazil, correct?
Oh, is that Marcelo? Maybe.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct, Marcelo.
So yeah, we have, I believe, 3 kind of meetings that me and Dr. Eugene's involved in. Obviously, you have more than that. Okay, so last week you've asked me to look at kind of the cancer incidence rate for the immunocompromised population.
Yeah.
Because we looked at the general population, which was basically 1% every year in the elderly population. And we did the math and just logistically it didn't make sense. And so this time I was looking at the immunocompromised patient group and they had a really big study and a really well done one. So this one was by Engels and published in 2011. The title is Spectrum of Cancer Risk Among U.S. Solid Organ Transplant Recipients, the Transplant Center Cancer Match Study. So this was a really big study where they actually looked at all solid organ transplantation recipients from 1987 to 2008 in 13 state and regional cancer registries. And they looked at the standardized incidence ratios and absolute risks associated with relative and absolute cancer risk in transplant recipients. So again, this was like a really big study. And they found that the overall increased risk of cancer among transplant recipients is 2-fold over the general population. And the most common cancers were non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, lung cancer, liver cancer, and kidney cancer. And they also report that the incidence rate for the transplant recipients is similar to that of HIV patients. And here again, the results, they looked at a total of 175,000 organ transplants over the 3 decades or so. And it showed that overall cancer risk was elevated they calculated it in person years. So it was 1,375 per 100,000 person years. So if you do the math per person per year, it just comes down to 1.3, 1.4. So it is elevated for the general population, but it's not all that different for the elderly population if we just look at that. Obviously, I mean, they give us the age and the demographic breakdown here. So if you want to take a look at that, we can. And then just a little more on the results that they report. So this is a figure that shows the risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma following transplantation. And over here on the top, it shows you kind of the type of organ that the patients received. And then bottom here is the years since transplantation. And obviously the y-axis here is the incidence ratio. And then we have this for all the 4 major types of cancers that are being seen post-transplant. So,
hey, Liam, I'm gonna have to take a break. I have to be in a meeting.
Okay.
I have to get onto this. So
yeah.
I don't know. It might take 15 to 20 minutes. So I will come back. Okay. But you guys take a break.
All right.
This is coming from everybody as a denominator in the registry. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat again? Oh, yeah, you can.
Eugene, could you pull up the article again for the UK one? Yeah, and then just give us the numbers, because the cases were only like, there were only like 12. It was like 12 to 15, depending on whether you looked at the number of organs versus number of donors. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here.
Yeah, let me pull up that article here.
yeah, I think whether it's immune compromised, immune suppressed, let's say at best it's 2 in 100. Let's just settle for that at best. At worst or whatever. It's cancer. It can't be best if you have cancer. But I need to get a ballpark number for transmission because now
Yeah.
it's 20 to 45%.
So I think the transmission rate really depends on the article or the report that we're looking at. So here, yeah, so total of 25,000 organs and then 15,000 donors. So if you look at just the number of organs, it's 15 organs
What is
out of
DTC?
the 25,000.
What is DTC? Donor to, what is it? Donor transmitted cancer? Is that DTC?
DTC? Yeah.
Donor transmitted cancer. Derived or?
There's a two type actually. DTC, sorry,
Where's the definition?
where's in abstract,
So it's donor
DTC
transmitted
means
cancer.
donor transmitted cancer.
Donor derived cancer.
So the overall they call it as donor origin cancer, and they try to classify it into donor transmitted one and the donor derived one. And yeah.
Okay. So
Mhm.
can you show me the transmission rate, how they defined it?
Can you show us the numbers again, please?
Oh yeah. I think they only look at their cohort. It's from UK group. And here they only consider their own data. So among the transplanted organ number, it was 25,000. And they calculate the rates using the donor transmitted cancer cases divided by the whole organs transplanted. So they gave us the 0.06%.
Okay.
And then if you want to look
Yeah,
at the DTC, which is on the paragraph above, it's giving us 0.05%.
So I'm saying, let's say from the donor or let's say organ, that's 25,000. I would argue maybe 1 in 100 would actually have cancer, like a donor. So let's say the transmission rate could be like 6%. Because only 1 in 100 would actually have cancer. You know what I mean?
Got it.
And what about
So you think that
DOC rate? It's a DTC. What is the DOC rate?
so the DOC rate.
It's kind of arbitrary to say it's DTC or DDC.
They also mentioned that here in discussion, it's very hard to tell them. But still, they try to classify whole DOC into DTC and DDC based on the time frame of occurrence of cancer from the organ transplantation, and the interval, the time period they said was 6 months, I think.
Okay.
But I think we should we should consider both DTC and DDC as like to consider the incidence itself. It's not good to classify it arbitrarily. DDC and
Eugene, can you go to the first paragraph in the results section?
Mhm.
Yeah, so here,
So here, at least what we know from this article is they don't know what happened to the donor, whether they are deceased donor or living donor. Did they have any data saying that the donor had cancer undetected or developed cancer later on? Do we have that data?
let's see. Oh, here they have donor characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of cancer history,
We
they
don't.
only look. Yeah, only they looked at the brain death donor or circulatory death. Yeah, I don't think they look at the cancer history of donor.
Right. So from this paper, we can say we don't know the true transmission rate. We can only guess.
True.
Okay.
right, if we're only, yeah, if we're only looking at cancer positive patients.
Yeah. So from this paper, like if you look at the DOC, go up to the DOC rate.
The first paragraph in the results.
So DOC rate, 18 recipient, so 0.06%. So assuming 1 in 100 donor had cancer in their body when they donated organs, at 6% transmission rate.
Mhm.
But that could be up to 45%. Who knows? I mean, it's on the we don't know, but okay.
So, but then like the two things are, number one, initially, we were trying to start from the general population and just see what the risk is. Obviously that can change. And number two, if we're trying to, if we're trying to see this for cancer positive patients, like there's no way, like ethically speaking and IRB approval wise, there's no way that's gonna fly.
Yeah. So I think we're still like, if we get 500 patients enrolled, we're gonna find one patient. Like,
If we are ginormously lucky.
Yeah. Yeah. To find one patient out of 500, I still think it's not feasible.
No, I don't. I agree. I don't think we're going to find one.
Yeah. So I don't think so this leaves us like it could be like epidemiology study, and if someone had a a transplant registry, like like Ankit Bharat has a lung cancer ever performed in Northwestern. They have blood banked. So let's tap into the registry now. Let's not try to draw blood. And they have stored blood. And using this lung cancer transplanted, I don't know if I doubt they have a registry from donor. I don't know. You can ask Mary, Liam, if they ever store donor's blood. But if it's still recipient blood, so they underwent, huge screening to make sure they don't have cancer. The recipient, I'm just talking about recipient. And we have the DNA collected. So at least we can run CTC and let's say GRAIL for all these patients. And then we have a registry of following up with them. Like, did anyone develop anything later on? So we can tap into this registry blood that are already collected post-transplant, pre or post-transplant. I don't know that if our thoracic surgery department registry collects pre transplant blood. So look into that and see how many samples are already stored. Number one, do they have pre and post transplant blood? Do they have donor blood? And if we have up to 500 patients, I think easy we can run it. We can run it and see what happens, because we're not investing into consenting 500 patients and going there to consent. I think it's too much of an investment to find one patient to do the 500. But if the 500 patient samples are already there in place, we can run it and see really let's see that in the real world what we find. I think that's doable. So Liam, that's probably our next step. I think even transplant, if we have to find 500 transplant samples to show one patient with evidence of transmission of cancer, I think it's just too much. It's a daunting task. So I think we should frame it that way.
Okay. I'll reach out to Mary and see what they have.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, if we could find, let's say, get some contact with our Northwestern kidney and liver transplant guys and see what kind of registry they have. I mean, we sum it up and it's like 1,000 blood sample. I think we can do something. So Mary might know. Ask Mary if she knows any transplant coordinators for kidney and pancreas, heart, liver, everything. She might have no contacts, and you can reach out to them, inquire about who's the PI, who knows about the sample status, and we can do a Zoom meeting to make these all happen. But know the key person for other transplant registry. I think one way to do it is just look at the department website directory in NM and just call that person. Hey, Liam,
Yeah.
I'm involved in thoracic transplant registry. You're part of the study personnel right now, so we want to see how you guys are doing, and if we could do any collaboration together, kind of know what's going on their end. It's because in the end, this is not just about lung transplant.
Right.
Yeah, so I feel like we have to go retrospective route than getting 500 patients in.
Yeah.
That's what's clear from our literature search. So I don't know what to say on our Brazilian collaboration today. I
mean, we'll report all this and we'll see what they have to say.
Yeah. We'll see what they can do. I still think, working with some companies like Grail to sort of do a pre-screening this is for the donor's benefit. Maybe for the recipient, like this is a critical group. We need to know if they have pre-existing cancer before transplant. Okay, before donating or before receiving. And you're going to do all the scans necessary, all tumor markers, CEA, CA125, and that's all negative. But the Grail panel might say, different things. And this might be a good high-risk group for a multi-cancer blood screening platform, what Julie is looking at. So I think this is just the neglected group that we could focus on, not to smokers. Yeah, so I think that sense it might make sense, but to prove transmission, I think we're gonna abort that.
Yeah.
Mission abort. It's like 007, there's like a red flashing abort.
Yeah, abort. Too much money.
Yeah, so much money, effort to prove. I mean, this is fit for epidemiology study, I guess.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
yeah, and more maybe like a mouse study, mouse model. You team the blood with circulating tumor cells, and then try to transplant organ, mouse organ to mouse, and see what happens. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, it's not. I guess not feasible economically. Or
At least not yet.
yeah. All
At least
right.
not
But
yet.
I think high risk blood screening. I think we can still pursue that and see what happens with other companies. So I think we'll still carry that on. But now we shift the focus to our Northwestern Transplant Registry and see what they have and go from there. Okay. So we have, I think, Eugene and Juhi left. But I have to do something very important. So I think we will come back to it. So let's stop recording here. I will resume when I am back. But
One moment, please.
okay.
I've made some changes to the presentation that I did last time. I updated it a little bit. But so I'll give a commercial landscape of the market of the blood-based cancer screening first, and then I will move on to talk about our research project.
Okay.
So who are the main players? First, we think about the cancer screening process in two types. A screening process that screens for multiple cancers and a screening process that screens for single cancers. So we'll start off with the multiple cancer detection. The most widely known one is the Gallery test by Grail, and they have gone through a lot of trials. The most noteworthy trial is a circulating cell-free genome atlas. But other than that, they also have the Strive Summit Pathfinder, which are still ongoing. So CCGA, basically they look at the blood and tumor tissue samples. They evaluate more than 50 different cancer types.
What is
But they
CCGA?
focus on, huh?
What does it stand for, CCGA?
It was in the previous slide. One sec. I don't know how to go back. How do I go back? Yeah, it was in the previous. That's the.
Circulating cell-free genome atlas.
Mhm.
So that they made that. I mean, it's their own making. That right? It's not.
It's
Is
the
that,
name of the trial.
but it's something they made up, right? It's not a common database. It's something they made up, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's not a common database. It's just like a random name that people make up for their trials.
Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah,
saying
like the
because we
Aurora.
have TCGA.
Oh no, it's not
TCGA.
like a database.
Yeah, it just sounds like,
Oh yeah.
that's why I wanted to make sure.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
how did I? Yeah. So CCGA, they I guess the most noteworthy for theirs is for the sub study, the second one, and the third one. They have three sub studies, but the second one and the third one is the more noteworthy ones. And basically in these sub studies, they aim to detect through the multiple cancer screening assay, the 12 different types of cancer at early stages, hopefully. And the test had a 67.3 detection rate for the 12 specified across stages 1, 2, 3. And then overall detection rate for all cancer types was 43.9.
Hold on, go
We
back,
will
go
get
back.
to,
Can you go back?
we will talk more about this later because it's included in our paper.
Okay, so I guess the 12, they limited to 12, And I guess they didn't tell why. They just wanted to address everything. And I don't know that why
They try to
Mhm.
get higher sensitivity and specificity, so they limited it.
So they just selected those on purpose, I guess.
Mhm.
So so detection rate came from what the all the participant known to have no cancer, and no, I guess how do they calculate detection rate?
Um, so they have patients without cancer and patients with cancer, so it's a case control.
So
So it's a case control study.
so what is their equation? What divided by what? I guess just based on the case, you have diagnosed cancer and then you do blood tests. So they only use the case, not the controls, I guess, for the detection rate.
Proportion of uh, participants with a positive test result among all cancer participants in an analysis set. For sensitivity and for specificity, it's proportion of all participants with a negative result among non-cancer participants.
Hmm. So detection rate.
But
What
then
was
that's true
what?
for all studies included in our paper.
Yeah. So what was the detection rate equation again?
Um, so sensitivity.
No,
So
no, just
cancer signal detection is measured either by sensitivity or specificity. The one that's measured by sensitivity is the proportion of participants with a positive test result among all cancer participants in the analysis test. Specificity is the proportion of participants with a negative test result among non-cancer participants.
right. What about the detection rates? It's just detection positive among the cases, right? I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I just want to make sure that's what they did. You can look it up later and move on.
Detection rate will be specificity. So it's proportion of participants with positive tests among all cancer participants.
Hmm. Okay, and that's pretty high.
The STRIVE trial only looks at breast cancer, and the SUMMIT trial only looks at lung cancer, and they're both still undergoing.
Okay.
Pathfinder is also a trial that's still undergoing. It's an MCED test, so they're not like particularly focusing on certain cancers. They're going through all cancers. But they did have their interim results where the PPV was 45%. They don't have their final results yet. Then there is Cancer-Seq that detects cell-free DNA and also identifies A protein markers. biomarkers. So this is an assay that does two things. So they have patients with cancer and patients without cancer, and their specificity was over 99% in 8 cancer types listed below, and their sensitivity in these 8 cancer types was 70%. And there is PANS here that looks at ctDNA methylation. This one is only methylation. And they had a TZL study where they included the following number of healthy subjects. So here it's like it's healthy subjects and asymptomatic individuals, and they are later diagnosed with cancer. So they were followed up for like 4 years. The 5 common types of cancer showed a sensitivity of 88% and a specificity of 96%.
Go back. So this is longitudinal study, like population based, and their detection rate is 95. Wait.
They had a training set and a test set. So basically, they have specificity and sensitivity separately for the training set and the test set. And they try to see how far before the cancer diagnosis could the patients be diagnosed through this assay, blood assay. So how far before the actual biopsy cancer diagnosis can the patient be diagnosed with this blood assay?
So what was that number? Time frame?
So if it was a pre-diagnosis was pre-diagnosis sensitivity for the training set was 91.4% and 94.9% respectively for the training set and test set. They have it, yeah. And their specificity was 94.7 and 96.1 for the training and test set respectively.
So I guess the final performance is the detection rate, and they got 95% out of all cancer patient asymptomatic, later diagnosed. It looks like they had additional 223. So was it 200, but excluding 223 was just 191? Where, and I don't know where 95, how that's calculated. Because we have to compare apple to apple. Like when the detection rate is, denominator is like everyone with already diagnosed cancer for GRAIL. And if for Panseer is saying, well, they didn't have cancer at the time of participation of the study, but they later developed cancer. We're not talking about the same denominator.
No, they have it for both.
They have
So
it for
they have
both.
pre-cancer and post. So they have pre-diagnosis and post-diagnosis.
And where's that number?
So 95% is the pre-diagnosis,
Uh-huh.
and the 96% is post-diagnosis.
96 is post-diagnosis. So 96 is what divided by what?
Well, 96 is specificity. So the definition for sensitivity and specificity does not change across articles.
So what is it for this paper? what divide by what?
So sensitivity is always proportion of participants with positive test result among cancer. So positive in cancer among all cancer patients, and specificity is always negative result in non-cancer participants. So that definition does not change.
So you said 96 is a detection rate for post-diagnosis of cancer. Didn't you say that?
Yeah.
So detection rate has nothing to do with specificity in my mind. Can you explain? So my question is, because you just said detection rate for pre-diagnosis is 95%. Post-diagnosis is 96%. I'm curious to know how they got 96.
Do you understand it?
Do you understand my question?
I don't understand your question.
Okay, so 95% is a detection rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And detection rate is number of positive case divided by number of patients who later gets cancer diagnosis, correct?
That's correct for pre-diagnosis and not correct for post-diagnosis. For post-diagnosis, people are already diagnosed.
Right.
Yeah.
So for post-diagnosis,
So
what
post
is divided
sorry.
by what in this? Is 191 is pre-diagnosis. So post-diagnosis is actually 223. So 96% post-diagnosis. So among patient with already diagnosed with cancer, how many of them are diagnosed? How many had positive results, right? Is that 96%?
I'm so confused now. Yeah.
Does the study, the Pansier article, report pre and post diagnosis specificity and detection rates separately, or so did they classify their target population as who doesn't have any cancer diagnosis and who has cancer diagnosis? Did they classify that population, or so oh yeah, they
have it separately.
mm.
I don't know how to explain it better.
So Dr. Shea, if you look at their report here like this, they have 3 categories of population. So healthy population, pre-diagnosis and post-diagnosis population, and they calculate each sensitivity and specificity, and I think maybe detection rate as well, like according to the 3 categories separately.
So I'll just ask one question, one by one. What is the post-diagnosis detection rate? I'm not talking about sensitivity nor specificity. I'm talking about detection rate. Is that 88%?
Here, 88% is the value of sensitivity in post-diagnosis group. So
So for that group, sensitivity is defined as detection rate.
sorry, I think I have to make it clear that I'm not sure.
So
as
I'm
of-
going by the definition Chewy told me with the GRAIL. Detection rate is defined as anyone who has clear diagnosis of cancer. Here we have pre-diagnosis, post-diagnosis, but let's forget that for now. We have cancer diagnosed. That's the denominator. And among them, how many, what proportion got detected? Detection means the test became positive. So
Right.
that to me is sensitivity.
Hmm.
So detection rate has two components, sensitivity and specificity.
So detection rate cannot be,
Because you remember how last time we said if a specificity is too high, the sensitivity cannot go higher, and how sensitivity is too high, then the specificity cannot go higher. So they define detection rate as these two values that go together kind of thing. But if you want the pure detection rate, as in the positives that they can get from cancer patients, then if that's the one that you want, then it's only sensitivity, but sensitivity cannot stand alone. It always stands with specificity. But these journals, they would talk about sensitivity only, but when they present their data, it's always with specificity because those two have to go together.
yeah, what you said is true, but when they, in I guess, go back to the GRAIL. Can you go back to the GRAIL? So I'm looking at the last sentence. When you say overall detection rate for all cancer types was 43%, we're talking about sensitivity here. Is that my understand? Is that correct? Because you
Yes.
cannot put sensitivity, specificity here. When we have to talk about one thing, among only cancer patients, what is my likelihood of, saying that they do have cancer by just running this test alone?
Yeah.
So that is sensitivity,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So I want to make that clear.
Yes.
Go back to, I want to, my purpose is compare apple to apple. Okay. Here, Pensier, when they say post-diagnosis sensitivity is 88%, we're comparing 43% to 88%, correct?
Yes.
That's not even true because they only had 5 common types.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all cancer. But anyway, I'm just trying to figure out what are the top terminologies that they use? Here they have pre-diagnosis, which is super high, 85. I can't believe pre-diagnosis is even higher than post-diagnosis detection rate. 88 is compared to 85, not 86, correct? Because 85 seems to me is a sensitivity with denominator being pre-diagnosis individuals. I mean, that's how I read it. I want to make sure I'm reading it correctly because you read the journal.
That is how I understood everything.
Okay. So I think we need not only sensitivity and specificity, we need to know when they say sensitivity, is it post-diagnosis? For GRAIL, it looks like case control study, everyone's post-diagnosis. But this study is unique that they did follow up to make sure they know who developed it later on. And it looks like their detection rate for these patients were even higher, 95 versus 88%. So this is a great point of discussion that we cannot compare, the same numbers between trials because they all did it a little bit different. But anyway, 43 versus 88. I mean, all cancer detection must be much higher than 88% because this is the 5 common types. Anyway, I mean, whether we believe this number or not, this is a big, difference in their performance. Okay, you can.
But they didn't include stage 4 in this result, so
Well, did they include stage 4 in that?
yes.
Can you show me what percentage was stage 4?
1 second. Stage 4 was, wait, oh, what is this? 65% for Panseer. Whereas Gallery's initials did not include stage 4. So they wanted to focus on the earlier stage. They do have results, but the ones that they mainly wanted to talk about was stage 1 to 3. So give me a moment.
So can you go back to the Panseer slide?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need this number for stage 1 to 3, not including stage 4, because if you include stage 4, I mean, we're not doing any. It's not a study focusing on early detection. If you know patient already has stage 4 disease, well, I mean, like you can discover stage 4 disease, but I take it back. You can look, but my point is you have to look at the same group. If one study included stage 4, one study did not, then it's really hard to compare. So do you know out of the cases, what percentage was stage 4, Panseer?
I just told you 65.
65 out, like pre and post diagnosis, I guess, combined.
65 is for, 1 second, pre-diagnosis.
Pre-diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then
Okay,
for
very yeah,
post-diagnosis,
I don't agree with their design, but that's what they did. So we
wait,
just yeah.
post-diagnosis is
I mean, if they did breakdown, then you could see what you can do with, you know, how you can compare, but without the breakdown, it's gonna be hard. I mean, Grail did breakdown of stage 1 to 3, but I don't know if they did breakdown detection rates. That would be important to look at. But anyway, you can move.
Grail did a breakdown.
Yeah.
I need Eugene to look to the data with me again because I am a little confused about meta-analysis. Um, but yeah, like the data that each article give out is very different according to me. So
Okay. You can move on.
Phantom Detect, they look at the two biomarkers, APO10 and TKTL1. And then they for the one that they published in 2013, they reported sensitivity of 95.8 and specificity of 97.3. The one that they published on 2020, they did not publish it with like sensitivity specificity, but like they just said that both biomarkers were positive in like 100% of the 62 cancers and 0% for the healthy individuals.
Did they mention stage?
Okay, one sec. Can I actually just go to
You can look at it later. Let's move on. We don't have enough time. You can just write down my questions and let me know later.
and then EDGC, I couldn't find their scientific literature. They only have news articles where they said that they screened for 10 major cancers and their sensitivity was 93%, but then I have no literature to back it up, so I'm not sure
But
about
they
their
don't have a literature?
they didn't really have it. I looked around, but so I wasn't convinced about
Not even abstract?
yeah, they have like news articles, but I don't believe in news articles,
Wow.
so I don't think I wouldn't include this company in my assessment.
Wow, that's amazing. That they,
And
yeah.
they didn't even specify the specificity either, so I don't know but yeah, I guess they're gonna do more this year because they want to introduce it next year.
So from 93%, did they say how many patients were tested?
No, it's literally like sensitivity was measured to be 93%. So I don't trust anything they say at this point, but
Wow. Okay.
but maybe they're working on it. It could be, but we'll see. They do feel like they have something going on. Maybe they were not able to publish it yet.
So Chewy, this is my suggestion. I would email the company, hey, we're doing a review because I'm thinking the company, you know, if they want to be included in the review, maybe we're missing something. I would email the company, the whatever is in the website, and say, do you have any publicly available data? Did you guys publish anything anywhere that we could use to write our review? We want to be fair in analyzing data out there. We just don't want to miss. I know you guys have these ongoing, but I don't see any valid scientific literature to back up what your claim. So is there any peer-reviewed article or even abstract that we can? And same goes true for any commercially available meaning, I know Grail has Grail is the only company that can be used for patient, but other platforms can still be used for research use only. So even those companies, I mean, they got investors. So we want to make sure they have fair representation. If they can come back and say, oh no, we haven't published anything yet. Fine, we just want to have every stone unturned, So email them and let's see what they say.
Okay.
Okay.
Selfie is another one out there. They look at sulfur DNA fragmentation. They had 235 patients, 245 healthy. Their sensitivity ranged from 57% to over 99%, according to the cancer type, when they fixed their specificity to 98%. Then they had an overall area under the curve of 0.94. They also looked at the tissue of origin, and they said they were able to identify it in a limited number of sites in 75% of the cases.
Limited number of sites. What does that mean?
I think they like specified it.
Anyway, this technology is really,
Theirs was very interesting.
So they don't have article as well?
No, this one has article. This one has published data.
This is based, these numbers are from publication?
Mhm.
Okay. Then this is just for you, Jui. When you publish, you should always, for these numbers, just have like the author et al. And the journal name and the
Oh, okay.
year that the journal was published.
Okay.
If you're citing company homepage, it's okay, but if you're actually citing a journal or abstract, please do so. This is for future any presentation. Okay.
So their article is included in our analysis too.
Okay.
And then there's the single cancer detection, the ones that we did not include. But so there's the Freenome. They looked at colorectal cancer. Their preempt study has closed, in my opinion, but they didn't publish their results yet. I'm guessing they're cleaning up the data. So it should be out sometime this year. So like this is what is out there, but there will be more data out soon.
This is the Freenome.
This is Freenome, but this is what they had out in 2019. But they will have an updated version.
So
since their study closed at 2022.
Is it interim results then?
That's what I'm understanding.
So pretty good sensitivity and specificity, and they are.
They only look at colorectal.
Do you know their stage?
Huh?
Stage.
At least for this one, they only looked at early stage, so like 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, 80% was 1 and 2. The other 20% would be 3 and 4. So here, if you read, it's their cohort is 80% stage 1 and 2. So I'm guessing it's 20% 3 and 4.
I see.
Yeah.
It's still, taking that into account, it's still very high sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is great. But So did you include this in your analysis?
No, this is only colorectal.
Okay.
And then lunar by Guardant, um, they're planning to do for all cancers, but they're only looking for cohort A right now, which is only going to be lung cancer patients. And their trial is ongoing, so there's no there's nothing much to talk about as of right now.
So they never published anything.
No, their trial is ongoing, and they're gonna start with lung cancer, but they say they're eventually gonna go through like a bunch of other cancers too.
So cohort A is lung.
hmm That's
Didn't
what they're recruiting right now. Well,
okay.
what's going on right now?
Where's Luna 1?
Luna 1.
Isn't Luna 1 colorectal trial?
Let me double check. I just did like a Google search and I don't see Luna 1. Am I not? One. Lunar 1. I think Lunar 1 is monitored and Lunar 2 is early detection.
Is monitor. What is the Guardant colorectal study?
Yeah, Lunar 1 is monitoring. Lunar 2 is yeah, Lunar 1 is MRD.
Do you have any other Guardant study you're looking at?
Well, they only do single, so I didn't look further.
Shield.
Lunar 2 is the CRC that you're thinking about, though.
So Luna 2 is that a different cohort?
Lunar 2 is like a overarching. Well, it's the name of the essay. So, like the gallery test by Grail, it's Lunar 2 test by Garden. But the study that I looked at was the SHIELD study, which is specific for, well, at least for now, cohort A for lung cancer. But this is the one that does the CRC2. So Lunar 2 is the one for CRC2.
So I guess it's just a different cohort.
It's a different study. They CRC is the Eclipse study, not the SHIELD.
Equip.
Eclipse, ECLIPS.
Eclipse.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you put Shield as a lung cancer screening?
SHIELD is currently looking for lung cancer, but SHIELD is the one that's gonna include multiple.
Multiple.
It's starting with lung, but it's gonna include more.
Okay.
So I thought SHIELD was the one more relevant to us. Although it's only lung for now, it's gonna get bigger.
Well, I think if you included, what was the one before? Freenome?
Eclipse? Oh, Freenome?
Yeah. Can you go back?
Freenome is colorectal.
Yeah, so preempt. If you included preempt, you should include Eclipse. Because they're like same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be curious to know their performance, preempt versus Eclipse. Because Eclipse data was presented
Yes.
last year.
Mm-hmm.
So even though this is single cancer type, this is the best data, best technology, is likely to be commercial very soon. And then how does that the performance different. They perform differently compared to what's already approved, which is Signatera. So again, I would revise the slide. One, add the reference. Number two, let's add Eclipse. And try to compare preempt, Eclipse, and Signatera result. Okay, go on, go ahead.
Signatera.
Yeah. Well, no, I take it back. Signatera didn't do early detection yet.
No, they didn't.
They
only
did the only MRD. So
Yeah.
okay, go ahead.
Do they have future? Sorry, let me just finish this. What company has the best chance? And if we think their platform is solid, so these are some of the questions that we can explore in the review paper, which is going to be the accuracy and applicability of blood-based cancer screening and the general population.
Mm-hmm.
So introduction will be cancer is the leading a second leading cause of death in the United States. This is according to the 2022 statistics. Their effective early detection would reduce, sorry about that typo, cancer burden, but only a few type of cancers have effective screening tests. And there are cancers that do not have an early screening test, and the current screening tests only screen for a single cancer type at a time, and they are oftentimes very invasive. So, which is why we're interested in a blood-based multi-cancer screening test. And some of the research questions that we're trying to explore is, well, is it going to be an accurate test? Looking at the sensitivity, specificity, area under the curve. Is the technology sound? Is it actually applicable in the clinic setting? Is it going to be more useful than the existing test, um, or if it's used with the existing test, will it provide an added benefit? And think about it as health economic wise, like who should receive this a screening test? The general population or a high risk population? Is it going to be cost effective relative to its performance? The method is we have performed comprehensive searches of the electronic databases, and our search period finished in March 2022. We are looking at English language publications. Full eligibility criteria and search strategy is later provided. Results of the searches has been collated and no database and tabulated. To avoid bias, we had two reviewers conduct screening, and in case they couldn't reach a consensus, we had a third reviewer scrutinize the article. And we have performed risk of bias analysis and all selected articles using Quadras 2. And the third domain of this Quadras was deleted because it was not relevant to our review article. So this is our Prisma. We have looked at 3 databases, and the records screened were 1,060. We excluded records based on the abstracts, and the records that we decided on were 277. However, full text was not available for 6 of them. So the reports that were assessed for eligibility are 271. So we read full text of 271 articles, and we excluded um, um, articles based on those following criterias. And the final number of articles included in review were 9, and then we additionally included 5 articles from outside sources.
So
After
yeah, so let's go one by one. Reports not retrieved. Why was that?
they just did not have full text articles. It was not available.
So I would say report not available, not retrieved.
Oh,
It feels like we didn't retrieve it for a reason.
okay.
And then So single center 121. Can you explain that?
Single cancer.
I'm sorry, single cancer.
So instead of screening for multiple cancer, they screen for individual cancers like frenome, CRC.
Mm.
And yeah, so anything that does individual cancers be excluded.
Mm.
Dr. Chen,
Did you-
sorry to interrupt,
Uh-huh.
but then you have your next meeting with Dr. Tess Khan at 2 p.m., which is right now.
Oh, is it 2 p.m. already?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna pause here and we'll come back, Jui. We'll finish the meeting.